In this video, I'm going to build the most powerful Olivia Crimson Bride deck that I can for under $100. Card prices are based off TCG player prices. Cards prices will fluctuate in the future, altering the total cost of this deck, likely causing it to be more than $100. Basic land prices were not included when evaluating the cost of this deck. Welcome to the Dankest Dungeon. My name is Jason, and thank you for joining me for the channel's very first Commander deck tech video. Let's get right into it. So Olivia Crimson Bride is a 6-mana 3/4 with flying and haste. Whenever she swings into combat, she returns a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. A very powerful ability. This obviously makes her a great reanimator commander. The ability does have a minor downside in that if you ever happen not to control any legendary vampires, all creatures brought back with Olivia take a one-way trip to the exile zone. This usually means that if Olivia bites the dust, all of your reanimated duders will head out the door with her. Permanently. There are some ways to get around this, such as sacrificing the creatures with Olivia's exile trigger still on the stack so they die and hit the graveyard before she has a chance to exile them. Another way around it would simply be to try and have more legendary vampires in play than just Olivia at any given time. Moving on to the other 99, let's start with how the deck wins. There are a couple of combos in the deck that are based around infinite combat steps on your turn. One way to do this is with Port Raiser, a 5-mana 4/4 that whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you untap all your creatures and then take another combat step. Port Raiser can't attack the same opponent twice. He also doesn't have haste, so can only attack the first combat if he is brought in with Olivia's reanimation ability. The way to get around this is to have a sack outlet like Ashnod's Altar, Woe Strider, or Viscera Seer to pop him after dealing combat damage. Then on the next combat step, bring a fresh version of him into play when Olivia swings again. Repeat this for infinite combat steps. The main drawback of this combo, as well as the other combos that are to follow, is that they require your opponents to be unable to block Port Raiser. In a pot of 4, it's quite possible that at least one opponent won't be able to block, and this combo would knock that opponent out. It's also feasible that another opponent wouldn't have any blockers for flyers, so Port Raiser could take out the player with no blockers at all, and Olivia herself could kill or seriously injure the opponent who can't block flyers. Another way around this is to give Port Raiser evasion of some sort. There's no easy way to do this, but the deck does include Dothy Embrace as a way to help enable these combos and also make Olivia unblockable when necessary. Casting Carder Doomscourge the turn before you plan on comboing off can also help open up the field by forcing all of your opponents to attack each other the prior turn. Another infinite combat step combo is to have Olivia and one other creature on the battlefield with Anger in the graveyard to give your creatures haste, then play Breath of Fury on the extra creature and swing with it and Olivia. When Olivia swings, bring back another creature from your graveyard, and when the creature enchanted with Breath of Fury connects, sack it and equip Breath of Fury to the other creature that was just reanimated, netting you an extra combat step. Move on to your next combat step and perform the same process again for infinite combat steps, as long as your opponent can't block your enchanted creatures, of course. Again, it's helpful if the creatures that you're cycling between have flying or some other form of evasion. The last combo in the deck isn't an instant win combo, but it does knock out one opponent instantly. Simply have Master of Cruelties in your graveyard and swing with Olivia and bring him into play attacking. Connect on any opponent who isn't able to block with Olivia and Master of Cruelties. First strike damage will happen, reducing the opponent down to 1 health because of Master of Cruelty's ability. Then Olivia will flying dropkick them for an additional 3, taking them out of the game. Usually Master of Cruelties is only able to attack by himself, but Olivia gets around this by skipping the declaration of attack step of the process. Another way to win, if you're not able to combo off, is to dominate the battlefield by cheating in and recurring some big fatty monsters with Olivia's ability. These monsters include Burning Rune Demon and Runescarred Demon to hit hard in the air and help tutor for combo pieces. We've also got Butcher of Malakir and Noxious Gearhulk for some sturdy bodies that will help clear your opponent's board at the same time. Flayer of the Hatebound to deal some serious direct damage whenever any creatures enter play from your graveyard. Sepulchral Primordial to reanimate your opponent's nastiest creatures and use them against them. Also, Grey Merchant of Asphodel and Sir Conrad the Grim can both help ping the entire table into the danger zone. Okay, let's face it, despite Olivia being quite powerful, she's not going to be out super early with her hefty mana value of 6. Next we'll take a look at how we can get her to join the party a little sooner. For mana rocks, we are running Soul Ring, of course, alongside 7 2-cost rocks with Arcane Signet, Rakdos Signet, Talisman of Indulgence, Thought Vessel, Felwar Stone, Mind Stone, and Prismatic Lens. Creatures like Burnished Heart and Solemn Simulacrum can grab you some extra lands and be reanimated later if need be. Ashnod's Altar is not only a sack outlet for Port Raiser and for avoiding Olivia's exile trigger, but can throw some extra creatures into the grave for a mana boost early game. The deck also includes Dark Ritual and Seething Song for 2 additional outlets to get Olivia out early. Another thing you'll want to be doing early game is keeping everyone else's board states in check. Let's check out the removal package. To help keep opposing commanders and threats off the board, we are running the full suite of sat creatures with Plaguecrafter, Fleshbag Marauder, and Merciless Executioner. They are great early plays to level the playing field and are also likely to be ready in the graveyard for when Olivia shows up to bring them back. Shriekmaw, Ravenous Chupacabra, and Ingot Chewer round out the suite of removal on a stick creatures that can be brought back for additional value later game. Alongside these creatures, we also have some spells to keep the board clear, with the full-on board wipes of Blasphemous Act and Chain Reaction, and instant speed spot removal with Go for the Throat, Infernal Grasp, Chaos Warp, and Terminate. So that's how we can slow our opponents down. Next, let's take a look at how we're going to fill our yards with juicy targets for Olivia. Gravebreaker Lamia and Vile Entomber can both search your deck for any card to drop into the graveyard when they come into play. Buried Alive and Unmarked Grave also search your library for creatures to deposit into the graveyard. Buried Alive searching for any 3, and Unmarked Grave searching up any non-legendary card. Final Parting is an awesome way to search up your combos. You can put Port Raiser in the grave and grab Dothian Brace to hand, or put Anger in the grave and grab Breath of Fury to hand in one go. Looting is also a great way to pitch big monsters clogging up your hand into the graveyard and draw some new cards to play. The deck includes 7 different loot effects with Faithless Looting, Thrill of Possibility, Tormenting Voice, Honor the God Pharaoh, Pirate's Pillage, Seize the Spoils, and Unexpected Windfall. Seize the Spoils, Pirate's Pillage, and Unexpected Windfall also create treasure tokens, so they do some double duty with the ability to ramp out Olivia a little sooner as well. As great as looting is, it's only filtering your hand and not giving you actual card advantage. That's where the draw comes in. For a draw, we are of course running all of the Draw 2 and Pay 2 life cards with Sign in Blood, Night's Whisper, Read the Bones, and Succumb to Temptation. Champion of Dusk and Disciple of Bolas will also typically be drawing you a minimum of 2 cards each when they come into play as well. Other cards mentioned previously, such as Solemn Simulacrum, Runescarred Demon, and Burning Rune Demon, also provide a little bit of extra card draw. Rounding out the deck, we have several additional ways to bring back creatures from the graveyard with Chainer Nightmare Adept and Felden of the Third Path for some repeatable reanimation, as well as some one-shot spells with Victimize and Incarnation Technique. You can actually cast Incarnation Technique twice if you don't mind picking an opponent to also be able to cast it as well. The last non-land card in the list is Tybalt's Trickery, for a general answer to any particular spell we do not want to be cast. Moving on to the lands, we're keeping it real basic with 16 swamps, 15 mountains, along with some of the cheaper multicolor lands that usually won't be coming into play tapped. So we have Command Tower, Foreboding Ruins, Smoldering Marsh, and Tainted Peak. And that's the deck. I think the new Olivia is a powerful commander, not overly powerful, but she's not a pushover either. Are there any combos or synergies that you think I've missed? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.